Hello, and welcome to the Needs Languages YouTube channel. I'm really glad you're here today. If you haven't yet, please do hit the subscribe button below. On this channel, we mostly cover personality, how we communicate, community, belonging, all those kinds of things. Today is kind of a special little insert on because I have a video each week, and I kind of wanted to cover something um today on something that has shown up recently on YouTube that I've been watching. And I don't have any pictures. I'm not going to insert anything. I'm just going to kind of talk in general. So it's about Chris Watts. Now, if any of you have watched anything about him, I'm just going to give you a little background about him. He was in Colorado, and he was having at least one documented affair with a girl named Nichol Kessinger. I hope I said her last name correctly. And he was married to a woman named Shanann, and he had two children. And she was pregnant with a baby boy, or was said to have a baby boy on the way. And he ended up murdering his wife and his two children. And there's a lot of controversy over this. There's a lot of people who are saying things about Shanann. They're saying things about Chris. They're saying things about Nichol. And one of the words that's being thrown around is the word narcissism. And that's what I want to talk about today. Now, before I say anything, I want to preface that I am not a psychologist. I do have my master's in psychology and have been studying personality, researching how we process information in the brain. And so I've been doing a lot of research around things. I've done a lot of research around healing modalities and so forth. So I am not a licensed forensic psychologist. But through my research, I have learned a lot. So I'm coming at this from the research I have done. And you can take it with whatever grain of salt you want to take it with, or grain of pepper. So what I struggle with is when you start throwing around the word narcissistic. A lot of people, I was watching an episode on, there was something on Dr. Phil, and I watched some of Dr. Phil on this as research. And there was someone on there saying Chris was narcissistic, and narcissists have no emotion, and they will pass polygraphs when they have no emotion. But yet Chris failed the polygraph. So how can you say then he's a narcissist if he's doing the opposite and he's failing the polygraph? And I'm going to, again, here state my opinion. There's never, ever, ever an excuse for murdering anyone. Okay. No matter what anyone does, this is not okay. I'm just saying what he did was not okay. What I am going to say is if you watch videos of him with his wife, Shanann, that are on YouTube, and you can go look them up, in the videos, publicly, she dismissed him, she shushed him, and in my opinion, from what I saw, was very disrespectful to him. The research around the situation showed they were in debt. He did not look happy. Now, after he and it looked like, again, this is what it looked like from what I've seen. I was not there. That she was going off and leaving him with two little girls. Now, I don't know if you know anything about raising children. It can be very demanding, especially if you're by yourself. And another thing I want to talk about is how people process information. I don't think when we're talking about this that we're focusing on how how was Chris processing the information that was happening in this situation? How is he processing before he made the decision to murder his family? Now, again, I'm not excusing his choice, but if we look at the processing beforehand, this may help us prevent things like this happening in the future. When we say someone is narcissistic, it shuts the conversation. Okay, he's narcissistic. Okay, we're going to move on. But if we say, how did he get from point A to point B? And we take away the labels and just focus on the processing, we're taking away judgment. Now, could he be narcissistic? He could. I don't know. And I'm not going to say that. What I am going to say is this. What was in his brain at the time that he made this decision? What led it? You know, the Tao says this, watch your thoughts. They become your words. Watch your words. They become your actions. Watch your actions. They become your habits. Watch your habits. They become your destiny. What that's saying is, if you don't take your thoughts captive, you as a person thinks in their heart, so they are. Our words are always speaking who we are. We just are not taught how to listen to them. He was speaking this, showing habits, showing actions before this happened. Now, I want to address something else because this is going to be on the words he spoke. And you can look this up. After his family was murdered and he was rocking himself, he was smiling in one of the interviews. And this was a controversial thing, but what he said was, it's quiet. It's so quiet. Now, if you think about that, why would you talk about quiet? And why was he emphasizing how quiet it was? And he's smiling at the quietness. What does that tell you? That they could tell you several things. A lot of people are saying he's smiling because he's thinking he's getting away with it. Well, that's a possibility. What if there was so much noise and constant stimulation and he felt overwhelmed and he didn't know how to handle it? And he finally was like, I can breathe. It's quiet. I haven't had quiet. I feel picked on. I didn't have the skills to stop this. And that's why he was smiling, because it was a smile of relief. I mean, I'm again, there's no excuse for this. I'm not saying that's an excuse to murder. I'm just saying, what if that was part of his process in the situation? And in bringing this up, because a lot of times what will happen is we don't look at the fact, what if he had neurodiverse issues and he couldn't handle all the stimuli and he didn't know how to communicate, this is too much stimuli for me, I'm overwhelmed, I need help. This brings me to my next point. Brene Brown has an amazing story. She was doing conferences years ago, and these women came up to her and thanked her. And as the women walked away, a man came up and talked to her. And he was like, yeah, this is great. You're doing this for women, but you don't have a clue what's going on with men. And she was pregnant with her son at the time, she talks about. And he says, I have to be a hero. They cannot see me fall off my off my horse. If they do, I will lose that status, something along those lines. And she thought about this and thought about the pressures that a lot of men go through in society. This unspoken rule that men are supposed to be heroes. They can't be vulnerable. What if he felt like he couldn't be vulnerable? What if he felt like he couldn't have a voice and he didn't know how to get the skills so that he could have a voice and stand and say, this isn't okay, or this is what I need? And when they were gone, he was finally breathing. And it hadn't caught up to him yet because he had been so under so much stress for so long. He just wanted quiet, and he was doing everything he could to get that quiet. Now, again, I'm not saying what he did was okay. I'm looking at this from another perspective. When we look at neurodiverse people, and I'm not saying he is neurodiverse, I'm not a psychologist. I'm just saying there's a lot of people, and this is according to the APA, who are older, who have not been able to get a diagnosis of being neurodiverse, that are neurodiverse, and are struggling with sensitivities to things. And what if he was overwhelmed? I mean, these are things to look at. These are things to explore in this situation. You see, I think a lot of times we jump to conclusions and we make these judgments instead of going, what's going on behind the scenes? And we put these labels on and we put these biases on. I want to understand the processes, because if I understand the process, then I can prevent it happening for someone else. Then we can save someone else's life. Then we can get the skills we need into people. Now, a lot of times we're saying it's so expensive. You can go, Nicole, it's expensive. You can't get skills to everybody. Really? I'm going to tell you how cheap my books are. My books are under $5 each. Is that expensive? Actually, to download them, they're under $3 each. And I can tell you, each one of these books that I have behind here, they may be small, but they are full of information that can give you some skills that I have researched. So if you think that's expensive, it will take time. There's videos out there. There's so many resources out there that we can get into people's hands that do not cost very much, if it costs anything. The problem is we want to look at the expense instead of the investment. And if you do not think another human being's life is worth investing because it's too expensive, then it's always going to be too expensive. I could have priced things higher and created things to be more beneficial for me. I set it up this way at the very beginning so that it could be more beneficial to others. And then there's other things that can be created that can work at higher price points as I grow. But I did this because I felt that skills were so important for people. Skills are important. And I've spent my time, my energy doing this because I value humanity. I value you. I see worth in you. I see worth in you. I hear worth in you. I do. And I'm not here trying to use this as to promote this. That's not what my point is. My point is we need to start seeing people as an investment instead of a cost. Because when we invest in something, there's a return. And if we would have invested in this, think about if we were to invest in people, how much would we save in the court system? That's an example of an investment. If we were to invest more in our children, how much would we gain in innovation, which would help our planet? So I'm going to close with this. As you look at this case, I want you to really start thinking about skills. I want you to think about what skills you can learn for yourself to become better. What can you do to create the world to be a better place? What can you invest in? And I'm not saying you should necessarily write Chris, write his family. I'm not saying go down that path. And let me, if you feel led to, go for it. What I'm saying is, how can we let go of our judgments, our biases, and look underneath the surface? How can we remove more labels and put things in a place where we're understanding the process? Well, I'm okay with things that are going a place, going somewhere, like, descriptives. There's a difference between labels that stop something and descriptives. And that's where I'm feeling like we ought to be looking more at. I've watched many people talk about this, and there's been a lot of opinions thrown out, and I figured I'd throw mine in the mix too. So on that note, this is more of a serious note. I hope this is giving you something to think about. I would love to hear your comments. And if you got something out of this, please let us know. Uh, if you would like to learn more about the needs languages, we were researching how he came to this decision based on his needs languages and based on how he processed the information. I would be open to doing another video and talking about that if you would like that. But I would need to see some comments for that, and I would need to see some people subscribing. And so I would be open to talking about the thought processes on personality and why we do some of the things we do, if you're interested. If you're not, that's okay too. But I just need to know what you would like to hear more of, and please put those in the chats underneath the comment section. Until next time, see you next time. Bye.